Is that so?
Yes, I probably had a similar opinion. This is why I decided to make this film. Recently, when I finished working on this film and showed it to my colleagues, I heard from several respected people that they fear to a certain degree of doubt if Vladimir Vakhanya is actually a spy, and they are not sure if it is safe discussing this subject. Even against the background of such aggravated relationship with Russia, it is never risky to discuss these issues.
Yes, I think if there was such a danger, then the authorities would make it vocal, first of all.
I think the authorities would definitely make it vocal. If there was such facts, the authorities would make them known, and this person would be arrested on the charge. And secondly,
Let us make it clear that this person is not a spy.
no, this person was not arrested on the charge of espionage. He was arrested on two charges. One of them is illegal interference in the realization of a journalist's professional activity, and the second was the illegal purchase and keeping of weapons. To prove that both these charges are fabricated, the film, I believe, has enough valid and truthful facts. As regards to espionage, recently, one of my close acquaintances proved to me that this is similar to Al Capone, mafia member, being arrested and charged for non-payment of taxes rather than for his mafia activity, when this guilt, in fact, could not be proved. These people cannot understand that he was not arrested for mafia activity, but he was falsely arrested for non-payment for taxes.
So that was one of the means to get Al Capone?
He was arrested on the charge that was proved.
And what could not be proved?
He was not arrested for what could be not proved. Yes, this is a well-known fact. It is very important, and this is the difference, the big difference. Vakhanya was arrested on the charges, the involvement of which could not be proved, not on the really proven charges. If the charges had been proved, then he would be right. But the authorities just created the myth of his espionage activity and the myth of his culpability of this charge. He was arrested as Al Capone, but the comparison with Al Capone is irrelevant here. Vladimir was arrested illegitimately and unjustly. 2 million Georgians live in Russia today, and they wish the relationship between Russia and Georgia was better. Probably, for some of it is disputed issue, there are political fractions, and they declare that they do not want good relations with Russia. There are also people who say they want the establishment of good relations with Russia, and neither one nor the other could be tagged as spies and traitors because their desires and intentions.
More so because there are no documents to prove that. Definitely. Striking is the fact that at the stage of the preliminary investigation, the issue that in the 2008, when Vladimir was in the airport, his identifying documents were withdrawn from him, was not taken into consideration. It was not included in the case, but I still would like to pay attention to one fact. Journalists were involved in the case. Unfortunately, journalists were involved in the case. I am talking of double standards. We are journalists also, and therefore I am worried by the fact that the authorities are punishing the person so harshly because he prevented the journalist from her professional activity. At the same time, there are many precedents when journalists were prevented from carrying out professional activity when they were working live. So there is double standard. In one case, a person is punished, in the other not. In this case, how legal was it to punish the person just for preventing the journalist to carry out her professional activity, as the investigation put it?
I don't know of any such case. In my opinion, this is unique. Though I think I remember something connected with the first channel journalist and the opposition. But most likely, this is a unique and only instance when a criminal case has started an investigation on the charge of preventing the realization of the journalist's professional work. This precedent was not publicized in other similar well-known cases where the journalists were actually prevented from the execution of their professional duties. Many of them were physically insulted, many. Anyway, the facts were obvious, and in neither of the cases the precedent was used. This fact only raises doubts in the sincerity of the law enforcement decision when they started the case on the charge of prohibiting the journalists from the execution of their professional duties.
Did the attitude itself, the approach of the journalist to the case, change?
I showed in this film how journalists give mutually exclusive testimony, which in itself puts them in a very embarrassing situation. Though I did not try to go deep in discussing these issues, the role of the journalist is too obvious. I will give just one fact. I do not want to make direct analogy to it. I will only give it to show that authorities are interested in involving journalists in such processes. I became a participant in one of these cases. After Aslan Abachidze's fight, one person was detained who held a serious position, the high-ranking official, and one of, I can even name him, Givi Targamadze. He called me and asked me when Aslan ran away. I was in a building of the State Security Ministry. Many people got there and I was there too. I saw how the Georgian troops entered there, Georgian special forces. I witnessed it all. So Givi Targamadze directly asked me to testify, asked me to say what I actually did not see there.
As a journalist?
Yes or no, rather as a witness. Probably the journalist's testimony would look truthful. On the basis of my testimony, it will be possible to create serious proof against this person. I was actually called as a witness in this case, but of course I did not testify in this way. On the contrary, I told them what I had actually seen, but this makes me think that the authorities have such a trick in their arsenal that they can always use it.
This is exactly what happened in this case.
No, it is very hard to prove. I'm just saying that there is such a trick and the authorities use it.
I would like to know about this newspaper. Is it a local paper? Is it independent? Is there any information about this paper?
This is a regional paper. I cannot say anything about this newspaper.
So, in this case, there could be some pressure on certain journalists. Is that what you're trying to say?
The fact is that the journalists gave mutually exclusive testimony, even in the interview they gave me.